Hello everyone, welcome to the Resident Evil Village talk about thing. I've got my friend Lewis here from Sad Mango. Say hello, Lewis.
Hey guys.
Beautiful. Right, just to let people know, my primary experience with the Resident Evil series is mainly in the RE Engine era of the games. But I have played Resident Evil 4 as well. What about you, Lewis?
Well, when I was very young I played the original Resident Evil 2, but I was probably so young that I can't really remember that. So the the side of Resident Evil that I can remember, I grew up with Resi 4, which is why it's one of my favourite games. Resi 5 when that came out, Resi 6, 7, and I think I've played the Revelations. I played one of them, but I can't remember. So it obviously wasn't a very good game if I can't remember it.
I played the 3DS one on the Switch. And I think I played the first, because it was episodic, the second one. Like, this doesn't even have anything relatable to the first one, so why is it called Revelations 2?
Yeah.
And I assumed you played the remakes of 2 and 3 as well, haven't you?
I played the remake of 2, but not the remake of 3. I've heard too much. Well, people are always saying that the length of the third remake isn't justified. The price isn't justified for the length of the game. So I don't really want to spend 40 or 50 quid on a game that will last me a day.
I don't know, because I did, and I think that it's got a good replay value to it because of the difficulty thing.
You reckon?
Well, I played on normal, then I was like the same, like, oh, this is too short, and just like tossed it aside. Then I watched this YouTuber called Sphere Hunter.
I'm not familiar, but go on.
Big Capcom YouTuber.
Yeah.
And she said, I get that Resi 3 is not exactly the best remake, and I still think it's a terrible remake, but it's a solid game. Like, if you don't compare it to the content of the original, it's actually really good. But the thing is, she recommended me to try, well, not me personally, but the audience, is to try the game again, but go for a higher difficulty and keep doing that. So I went to hard, I think it was called. I don't know what the next one up for normal is. I don't normally do that with games. It's just not my thing. But honest to God, it was such a different game and I really enjoyed it. Oh,
that's interesting. I found that with Resi 4 and 5 specifically, they're much better on higher difficulties. Like I think it's Veteran on Resi 5 where you get incapacitated in like one hit. It's really hard, but like it feels like that's how it should be, because anything below that is way too easy.
I get what you mean, because I've recently played Resi 4 as well. But I think what Resi 3 does the remake does really well with the difficulty, because it's shorter, it doesn't feel as tedious. That's my problem with Resi 4, it's way too long. I think you could cut out the 5th area entirely.
I reckon by the time you get to the island at the end of Resi 4, it's sort of peaked already by that point. It's kind of a slow downward hill, but I still like the last bit. It's just the village and the castle are so much better than the island.
Yes, I feel like it should have ended at the castle, personally.
Did you play it on the GameCube?
No, I played it on the PS4, but I plan to have a go at it on the GameCube. I don't think I'll go all the way through, but I'll have a good chunk of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, on the GameCube version, it's on 2 discs.
Yeah.
And the second disc is just the island. Like, you know the bit where, at the end of the castle, where Leon gets on the speedboat?
Yeah.
The first disc ends there. And in my experience with the GameCube version when I was growing up, it's very much a game in 2 parts. And that second disc is quite a bit inferior to the first. But it's still enjoyable. Like,
I can't call it bad, it's just...
Oh, yeah.
It don't need it.
I feel it is kind of necessary to conclude the story, but they could have done it a bit better.
I think they could have just reworked the story, but anyway, we're a bit touched out of subject with it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll say one last thing with Resi 3, because of the lem, it makes it a lot easier. It's a bit more arcadey with that kind of feel.
Yeah.
And another game that did this well was the first Luigi's Mansion. It was a short game, but it encouraged a lot of replay.
I didn't find that very short, to be honest. Although I've never completed it, so.
You can complete it in a few hours. I've done it, but but it's a good game.
Yeah.
Anyway, considering this must be about talking about RE8, let's talk about that. We talked about our experience with the other game, so I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Basically, I think just from watching the gameplay trailers and stuff like that, it's very aping off Resi 4.
Okay.
It's kind of a mixture of Resi 7 and Resi 4, I think.
In story aspect, yeah, I agree with the whole Resi 4 comparison. But we haven't seen enough gameplay so far to compare the gameplay side of it to anything else apart from Resi 7.
I want to point two things out. Is the inventory thing.
Yeah.
It looks very similar to what they've done in Resi 4.
Yeah, that's right. I do agree with that.
And it's put a merchant in as well.
Yeah, but from what I remember of Resi 7, didn't they have an inventory system similar to that?
Don't think so. Similar to Resi 2, weren't it?
No, in Resi 7 there was a box style inventory like the one in Resi 4. It's been too long since I played it, to be honest.
That's a good start, this is, isn't it? But it does seem like a bit of bigger focus on the combat, considering all the enemies and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, there does seem to be more of a combat-centric style as opposed to Resi 7, where it was most of the time, not all of the time, it was just one enemy at a time coming at you, and it felt very, I don't want to say limited, but that feels like the best word to use at the moment. Limited.
Yeah, but limited makes sense for a horror game like Resi 7 though. It's kind of the same plot. Why would you play a horror game and expecting to play it like Doom sort of thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand that completely, yeah. In the gameplay for Resi 8 that we've seen so far, with the amount of enemies coming at you, it's like nothing you've seen in Resi 7, and I think it's going to be a bit more action-y because of it. Like, you know how Resi 6 was criticised for being too action-y?
Yeah.
I think that's because there was too much, well, that's definitely because there was too much going on at once. I'm pretty sure it'll be a lot more action-y than Resi 7. The amount of things going on just in the gameplay trailer alone, like, I mean, explosive barrels, I don't even think they had those in Resi 7, did they?
I can't think of any now.
They might have had some in the DLC, but I don't think I played enough of the DLC to remember. It was like, how many years ago now?
See, RE7's the one that I played the least.
Yeah.
It's not because it's bad, it's because I got up to that bug lady and I had a panic attack on her.
Oh wow.
I beat her, but I was like, I need to take a break, and I just never picked it back up.
Oh, so you haven't completed it then?
Nah, I kind of know they survived because, you know, sequel.
Resi 8, yeah. Honestly, it just kind of...
I've heard the ending kind of sucks.
Yeah, I find this with every Resi game that I've played. It sort of peters off at a certain point and it goes downhill, downhill, downhill. Until it sort of... Well, this one's... Resi 7 specifically gets to a point where it's like a modern superhero film where it's just a CGI mess in the third act.
That's a shame.
But
Because it's got extremely strong opening and everything.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, as I was saying, Resi 8 is probably going to lean more towards the action aspect of it, akin to Resi 6, Resi 4, Resi 5. I think it might be a bit more polarising because of that, much like Resi 6 was. Even though Resi 6 is a good game on its own, it's not a good Resident Evil game.
I get what you mean, yeah, it's kind of like Doom 3.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that, yeah.
I must admit, with Resi game, I don't normally like the action-orientated ones. I've never enjoyed Resi as an action game because I never found the shooting to suit it.
Yeah.
Two exceptions, that's Resi 4, but I feel like it's janky enough that it's been built around it to give it a little bit of a tense to it. Like, I think that's going to be the biggest problem of a Resi 4 remake, is that the jank is part of the charm.
Well, how do you mean janky? Could you emphasise on that?
It's like, it's the aiming, because it's not, you know how you typically aim in the third person shooter these days, don't you? It's dead smooth and stuff like that, and you just shoot them in the head, that's it.
Yeah.
Resi 4 takes a lot of effort to aim, in my opinion, and you're stuck. You have to aim without moving.
Yeah.
So I think they'll walk towards you closer and you can get... And some enemies can insta-kill you with it if you stand too close.
that is true, yeah.
So there is a lot of tension in it, and you got limited ammo and stuff like that. There's a lot of tension, but it's a good kind of tension because the game is built around it. Whereas I tried playing the intro to Resi 5 and I thought, no, because they're throwing too much at me for this kind of aiming.
I know exactly what you mean, yeah. It's Resi 4 aiming without the Resi 4 atmosphere.
Of design, sort of, in level design and that.
Yeah.
Resi 3 Remake was a good one, I must admit. Like, that was more action focused, but it also, I think that's the thing, it kept the tension as well. I think I like the action ones when they keep the tension in the right kind of way. Because, like, I don't like horror games that just outright kill you or something like that, or just make you feel, I don't know what the right word is. You gotta be weak, but you gotta be able to fight back, sort of thing.
Yeah, weak but competent.
Yeah. That's what I like, and RE5 wasn't scary. It didn't have any atmosphere to it.
Oh, yeah, they even messed up the chainsaw men in Resi 5.
Them chainsaws were terrifying. Oh, the regenerators as well, them bloody monstrous things. But it's kind of funny in Resi 4 when they jump at you, but you manage to shoot them in the face, they're flying off.
Yeah, the Resi 4 regenerators still creep me out to this day. I mean, I think they must have left a lasting impression on me when I was a kid playing it back in, I think, 2005 or 2006 or something.
It was probably 2005, I think that's when the game came out.
Yeah, but that breathing noise that they make, and you hear it before you see them, it gets me every time.
I think they're back in the RE3 remake.
Eh? Really?
There's some kind of variation of them anyway. But they're not as good as what they were in Resi 4.
Yeah.
But they're still freaky considering, like, the design is generally gross.
Yeah, and it takes like 100 million bullets to kill him.
Yeah.
Before you get the infrared scope, I mean.
I didn't even know you could kill him in RE3. I was just running past him, and then I found out that in the harder difficulty that you could kill him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do think like Resi 8 can work as a bit more of an action game. It just gotta balance the level design and tension.
Yeah, I would think if they're gonna go for a more actiony thing, they need to make the movement and the aiming and stuff a bit more buttery smooth than it was in Resi 7. Because it was clunky in Resi 7, but it almost needed to be, because there was only one or two enemies coming at you at a time.
And plus the fact that the guides never really used the gun.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
This time round, Ethan could have the excuse saying, "Oh, Ethan's kind of practiced with a gun in the time between just because the paranoia and stuff like that." And okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
You don't have to be brilliant with it, but you could say that just to say, just to compensate for the smoother aiming, stuff like that.
Yeah, it would fit in a gameplay perspective because it's more actiony, and it would also fit in a story perspective.
Yeah, that's fine. What do you think about the ladies then?
The ladies, yeah. Okay, I'm going to preface this by saying I don't know how to pronounce that lady's name. Dimitrescu, is it Dimitrescu?
Something like that. Let's call her Lady D.
Lady D, yeah. Yeah, so, right, with the ladies, I really like the ideas that there's vampires in a Resi game. They may not be specifically called vampires in the game, but they very much have the idea that they are vampires and that they have the story of being vampires behind them. And then you've got the whole werewolf villagers, which, again, they may not be called werewolves, they may just be a variant of the T-virus, but they are very much werewolves, let's face it.
Yeah.
And I like how it's, like, I think it's the first trailer where Mia is reading a fairy tale about a woman going into the woods.
Yeah.
And I like how it's sort of leaning into this fairy tale, urban legend, mythology sort of thing. I mean, there's even a character in one of the trailers that really looks like Van Helsing. You know, the vampire hunter.
Yeah, I know what you're on about, yeah.
And,
I think he's a werewolf or something, isn't he? That's what I assume, because he's in the second trailer as well, ain't he?
I don't know. He says to Ethan somewhat like, "Let's see what you're made of," or something like that. My theory is he's going to be a boss, but he's going to be friendly after that boss fight, and like he'll be hunting vampires or werewolves or even both.
See, that character looks like he just walked out of a Devil May Cry game. I'm not gonna lie.
He does, yeah. But then again, Resi has connections with Devil May Cry, doesn't it?
Yeah.
it would fit.
I would laugh if it turns out it's just Dante in disguise.
Yeah, just Dante.
Honestly, that I wouldn't even care if that ruined the plot. That would be so cool. That it would just be fun. I'd love it. I'm curious to know how they're going to link the virus stuff to it, because Resident Evil is not a mythological based game. It's not a fantasy game like that, is it?
No,
It's science fantasy, but it's not fantasy.
Which is why I said they probably won't refer to them directly as vampires and werewolves.
Yeah.
But the idea of that is very much there. It could just be a mutation of the T virus that we haven't seen before.
Well, people have theories that Lady D in particular might be a tyrant.
Yeah, I can see a boss battle with her where she sheds her dress and she's a monster underneath. Like the chief from Resi 4.
Yeah.
Or like literally any boss from the series. How they're human or human looking and then they explode or something happens and they have this horrible exterior.
Well, the thing is, she shares a lot of similar features to Mr. X, but a lot more refined. Not graphically, so to speak, but in their world kind of developed, if that makes sense.
Yeah. The Resi series seem to do tall and intimidating quite a lot, don't they?
Stick with what you know.
Yeah. I mean, they do it well, so why not?
I mean, let's be honest, how many companies do tall, intimidating and giant snot on the wall monster as good as Capcom?
That's a very good point, yeah.
So I assume that someone there's going to end up like a giant snot on the wall that we have to fight at some point, and I'm not going to complain.
Yeah.
Because that's what I ain't going to say actually, because it's kind of spoiler stuff. Yeah, I'm interested to see where they go with it. I like the daughters as well, especially the one that reminds me of Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, although there's quite a few daughters that we see in the trailer, there only seems to be that blonde one that, I mean, we don't know anything about her, but we know a bit more than the rest of them because she was featured more prominently and she's in the Maiden demo, isn't she?
Yeah, she is.
I mean, I know me saying we know more about her is a bit weak of an argument. We don't know more about her, but she's appeared more prominently, and so that makes me think maybe she's gonna be more threatening, maybe, or more powerful than the rest of the daughters. Maybe she's a second in command or something.
Possibly, yeah. But if you look at Resi 7, they've got a big family there as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
And despite Jack being the most prominent, I think his wife is far more intimidating.
Oh yeah, like you said earlier, you had a panic attack while you were playing through it, and I mean that just goes to show you how much scarier the underdog can be to the main villain.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Jack was terrifying, but that just shows how much a step up his wife was. Jack set a high bar.
Yeah.
But I think I just don't like bugs in general, so I think that just really played into it.
Although you didn't get to Jack's boss fight, did you?
No, that's the first one, ain't it?
No, there's more.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
He comes back.
He doesn't come back. I mean, it's already
Spoiler.
It's already stated that he can't die.
I don't know, he looked pretty dead when he chainsawed him that last time. That was a good boss fight.
With the big chainsaws.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although, yeah, I don't think it should be considered a spoiler to say that he came back. I mean, how many villains from Resi as a series have came back?
Fair point. I'm expecting Wesker to show up at Resi 8, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it turns out Lady D's Wesker.
I wasn't thinking of that, but it wouldn't surprise me. It just turns out he's just got a robot suit underneath. He's a Dalek or something like that.
Yeah.
Just a melted remains from Resi 5 and he's just piloting a Dalek suit of a giant woman.
Yeah. You know what I do want to mention?
What?
In one of the trailers, Lady D is talking on the phone.
Yes.
To a Mother Miranda, I think her name was.
Something like that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. Obviously, Lady D isn't going to be the main big baddie. There's going to be someone above her.
But she could be the main villain of this game, and they could be the sequel villain that they're talking to.
Possibly, but I'm thinking we've already seen Mother Miranda.
Do you think that old witch lady at the start?
Maybe. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility with Resident Evil that a character transforms into a more intimidating version of themselves.
Fair point.
And I don't even think it will be the first time where a character that we've known for a while is actually a more threatening presence. I think they did it in what was it now? I can't think, but I'm sure they've done something like that before.
What do you mean intimidating presence? Like,
No, I mean like there's a character where we've known from the start. We've thought they were friendly or at least non-hostile.
Wesker? He was an ally in the first game.
Oh yeah, that's a good point, isn't it? Yeah, but I thought they would do something like that with the merchant in Resi 4, but they didn't in the end. Like, you know how he's got red eyes and he looks like a villager? I thought that maybe towards the end he would like shed his coat and become a boss or something, but that was when I was a kid. Like, if I played the game now, I wouldn't have thought that.
I was kind of expecting the same thing, and I knew he wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing. I know it's a bit off topic, but I've got to say this. Yeah. The Evil Within does a lot of bad stuff, and a lot of it comes from Resi 4.
Yeah.
But the one thing it does far better than Resi 4 is that the person who sells you stuff is far more interesting, despite the fact they look far more plain. But I think the plainness adds more to the interest, because you buy off a nurse.
Oh, I didn't realise it was a merchant sort of character in Evil Within.
Yeah. It's a nurse, but just looks ordinary, but it's so, the place they're in and stuff like that is so out of the ordinary that I think it's a far more interesting character, and there is backstory to her, but we don't know yet if they do a sequel at all.
See, because I've never played Evil Within, from looking at it and seeing trailers and things, it reminds me a lot more of Silent Hill than Resident Evil.
I think it visually looks more like Silent Hill, but it plays like Resi 4.
Yeah, so the story is more like Silent Hill, do you mean?
Kind of.
Like, or is it an amalgamation of the two?
I think it's kind of both. Like, the problem is Shinji Mikami can't write for shit, and I don't care if anyone says anything otherwise.
Yeah.
He's like the horror equivalent of George Lucas. He's a great ideas guy from what I gather, but he can't execute it very well.
Yeah. Well, what else has he written? Maybe I've heard of some of his stuff.
Well, I don't know, because I think he did Shadow of the Damned with some other, with what's his name, Grasshopper guy.
I don't know. What Shadow of the Damned? I'm not familiar with it.
Well, it didn't do very well. It was just I don't really know, to be honest. I think it was kind of like a character action game, I want to say. Yeah. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on that. So it's like, oh, here's a game he did that everyone knows. Who Framed Roger Rabbit on the NES?
Oh, the writing must be absolutely perfect, isn't it?
Yeah. So he directed Resi 1, Dino Crisis, the remake of Resi 1.
Oh, okay.
PN03, if you know what that is, then you know it's a brilliant bloody sign.
No, I don't think I do.
It was what, you know, that lineup of Capcom games they were promising for the GameCube, the exclusive 5.
Nope.
Look it up, it's a bit of a historical thing. It included Resi 4 as well, stuff like that. It's supposed to be all exclusive to the GameCube. Well, that's the only one that's exclusive to the GameCube.
Oh, right, I see.
I didn't know he directed Vanquish.
Oh, nice.
And The Evil Within, like.
Yeah. So is he more of a director than a writer, I assume?
It seems like there's no. I think he's involved with the writing. I don't know. Yeah, it directly says writer underneath Resi 4. So he probably has a hand in the writing, but he might not be the primary writer for the other stuff. Because it's a bit weird. I think directing in a game is directing from a film.
Well, no, it's directing the different components, like not giving them direct instructions, but like giving them a vague imprint of what he imagines and then leaving them to it.
Well, maybe he just hires shitty writers. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
The thing that Resi 4 does, even though I don't like the writing, it's very coherent with what it's trying to do. It makes sense.
Yeah.
The Evil Within, like, I still barely know what I did, and I'll play for the entire game in this DLC. Yeah, the main fun I had with it is one of the DLCs where you get to play as one of the villain bosses, and it was actually really good.
The guy with the vault on his head.
Yeah, the safe head or something like that. You get it's like an arcade mode, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know why more games don't actually try that for a horror theme, because I think that would really work. Like, you play as a powerful monster, but there's even worse monsters out there, and you gotta survive or something like that. There's an idea there.
Yeah. That guy with the safe on his head is what originally got me interested in wanting to play Evil Within. I barely know anything about it except for that guy.
See, I think that's where you think the Silent Hill, other than the gory look and him, that's the only Silent Hill relevant things. maybe the extra dimensional world thing, but the thing is, he uses that dimensional thing to explore areas that you find in Resi 4.
Oh, really?
So it's like, it's about as relevant, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
Anyway, we're supposed to be talking about Resident Evil 8.
Yeah, we've gone off topic quite a few times, haven't we?
Oh, don't worry, I did it when I was speaking to Dave and Monster Hunter, so... as long as it fits the subject, who cares?
Yeah, true.
Do you want to talk about the demo then? The Maiden demo?
Yeah, I haven't directly played it, but I've watched a playthrough, like I said, so I know what there is to know about it, I assume. I haven't looked in every corner, because I only know what the videos told me, so...
I played it, because I am a...
PS5 owner.
Yes.
Yeah, PC me, so...
I'm far too sexy for this world, to be honest. Like that's why I got a PlayStation 5, because I'm too sexy.
Fair enough.
So I'm going to say this: it's a glorified tech demo. I don't understand why it needs to exist as a tech demo.
Yeah.
Considering the RE engine isn't about it'll be in 5 games by the time Resi 8 comes out.
Yeah.
I'm not against it, but it's kind of like, why?
I think primary reason for its existence is, yes, to demonstrate the technology, but also, this might sound a bit unnecessary for them to do, but maybe to drum up sales for the game. Like, it would have sold well anyway, let's face it.
Yeah.
But I think their thinking is, I mean, what's a few more million when it comes to sales figures?
They must have sold it exclusively to Sony. That's the only reason I can think of. Because really don't understand why it's exclusive to PlayStation 5. It makes no sense to me.
Well, they said it was coming to PC in a few months, didn't they?
Well, I think they said it's another demo. I'm not sure if it's the same demo. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on that. But even then, like, why would you make a demo exclusive?
Yeah, that is a bit strange. But the fact that you said it was it could have been a tech demo, I would say that's right, except for the fact that the gameplay isn't much different from like the videotapes from Resi 7, like Happy Birthday or something.
Thing is, I've described it to you in the like messages. It's basically an escape room simulator.
Yeah.
And I still stand by that, but that doesn't mean it's exactly a bad thing.
Yeah.
I enjoyed solving the puzzles, but it was also terrifyingly tense.
My point is, though, what I was trying to say, it could have been a tech demo, but they weren't demonstrating anything new. So
Yeah.
the point of it being a tech demo is kind of moot, isn't it? Because, you know, tech demo is for showing off new things, and the only new things they've shown weren't gameplay related.
Or at least not something that couldn't be seen in Resi 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, there's only 2 things that have really confirmed anything for me. Well, 3 things, sorry. 1, I'll probably like the puzzles. That's like one of my favourite things about the Resi games. I do enjoy the puzzles. I know they're simple, but I enjoy them still.
Yeah.
The vampire ladies make wine. That seems to be the business they're running.
Yeah.
And the second thing is they're making... I don't know if all their wines are made from this, but it seems a certain kind of wine is made out of virgin blood.
Yeah. You reckon that's why... Well, actually, I don't know. I was about to say, do you reckon that's why they kidnapped the kid? But they didn't kidnap the kid, did they? Chris did?
No, Chris gave him to him.
Oh, did it?
Because there's a scene where you see him hand him over.
In the demo?
In the trailer.
Oh, I only remember the bit where you see Chris take the kid from Ethan, but I don't remember seeing them handing him over to the vampires.
I don't know if he handed them to the vampires, but he handed them over to someone in a house.
Oh, okay, I must have missed that then.
Because, again, because I said this is very similar to Resi 4. The plot's very similar because, from what I gather, they kidnap someone's daughter to do a ritual on them.
Yeah.
That is literally the plot of Resi 4.
It is, yeah. Plus, the village is very reminiscent of the village at the start of RE4. But other than that, I mean, I hope there's not too many more similarities because I really don't want to see a carbon copy of Resi 4.
Well, I think if they do that, they're going to have a problem trying to sell the remake of Resi 4.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Like,
Because essentially they'll be selling two of the same games, essentially.
yeah.
But one's just based it in nostalgia.
Another thing I wanted to mention about the demo, you know that it's called Maiden.
Yeah.
I find it interesting in comparison with my whole fairy tale theory because it's a maiden in a castle.
Yeah.
Like the whole damsel in distress sort of thing that comes from these fairy tale stories. And I just thought, like, I don't know, it might just be me being egotistical, but it's a nice little push in for, I don't know what I'm talking about, it's kind of a push in the direction of my theory being right.
Yeah.
You know, like a little pat on the back. So, but also, like, I know this is off topic of the demo, but they showed the merchant, and he looks extremely cartoony. Like, even for Resident Evil, his design is just weirdly bombastic. That makes me think it's set in, like, a universe where fairy tales are a bit closer to reality than we think. You know what I'm getting at?
Well, it could be infected as well, because like I said, the RE4 merchant kind of looked like a villager. He looked like a monster.
I think the lore behind RE4 merchant was that he was infected because he has red eyes.
So we could probably assume the same for the merchant in RE8.
Oh yeah. But that, like, we can assume that there's less hostile infected. Like, maybe they've regained or maintained some of their humanity, whereas the more hostile ones obviously have succumbed completely to the infection.
Yeah, possibility. The one thing I have to complain about the demo is that they ain't got any hands. I know that's weird, but it's
You ain't got any what, sorry?
hands. Got the person, your players, got no hands. So it feels like it's just a camera floating.
Yeah, that's true. Although that could just be down to them wanting to get a playable demo out quickly.
Because I do reckon, because they did the same with Resi 7, they did a different character in the demo, but then they used the exact same gameplay and area and stuff like that in the main game at the start. So I reckon they'll reuse that demo in the game, but with Ethan instead.
So what do you reckon of the other characters in the trailer? Like, for example, the guy with the shotgun or the guy with the eye patch?
Jesus, I could barely remember. They're probably villains or something like that. Or just random enemies.
There's a specific bit in one of the trailers where it looks like Ethan is in a hut of some sort, and they're all standing in a circle, joining hands.
Oh, yeah.
And they're chanting something, and it looks like some sort of ritual. But in that circle, you can see the woman that is in quite a few of the trailers, as well as the guy with, looks like he's lost an eye or something.
There could be two factions or something like that at war with each other or something.
Yeah, like a civil war. That sounds believable.
Because I know, because Resi 7 borrowed a lot from Outlast. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Well, Outlast 2 did that. They had like two warring faction things going on.
Yeah.
So there's a possibility Resi 8 might have borrowed that.
Hold on. Outlast 2 didn't have warring factions, did it?
They had multiple groups.
Oh, yeah, sorry, it did. I can't remember the names of them because it was a while ago that I played it, but yeah, there was one that was run by that really tall woman, Val, I think her name was, and one that was run by Father.
Well, there's similar figures and stuff like that as well from Outlast, ain't there? In RE8.
Yeah.
Except they're basically more memorable in RE8.
Well, it's hard to talk about the memorability of it because it's not out yet.
That's a fair point, but that's the Cyberpunk problem, ain't it? You're trying to be a fan of something that's not even out yet.
Well, yeah. But I wouldn't say I'm a fan of it because, as you say, it's not out yet. But I mean, how do I word this? I am against someone saying it's not memorable when it hasn't even been released yet.
I don't know, like, Lady D probably has definitely had an impact.
Oh, yeah, you only have to look at Reddit to see that.
Twitter, everything, she's all over it.
Yep.
So, I think she'll be remembered if the game does well. Yeah, I think there's not that much to discuss about the demo. What's the expectations for the game? What are you expecting? I think we kind of already discussed this a bit throughout the thing, but we might as well make it solid now, can't we?
Yeah, well, going back to a point that you made earlier about how you think Resi 4 would have benefited from being just the village and the castle.
Yeah.
I think Resi 8 will be just a village and a castle.
I reckon it won't.
You think it will evolve after... I don't know why I think this, but I think you'll start in a village, you'll move to the castle, and then either the game ends or you move on to something else. But from what I've seen so far, from the trailers, it'll be just a village and a castle. But that being said, maybe they're hiding something.
I think they're hiding something. I think they are. It feels too...
I hope we haven't seen everything that there is to see.
I doubt it with such a big game, such a mainline game for the series. I'd be shocked if that was it. I reckon there's another bit. I'm just worried they don't outstay its welcome, because that's another problem I've got with AAA games. And a lot of people are really making me annoyed about it. They're kind of right, but they're massively wrong at the same time, in my opinion, because I'm an arsehole about it. But people want us, especially with now, I do agree with this to a certain degree, because everything wants to be $70 and stuff like that. They want more hours out of that $70.
Yeah.
But the problem is, they just want the hours. Like a Ubisoft game, they want, Ubisoft games are great, Assassin's Creed and stuff like that. Because it's 70 hours. You know what I mean? And logically, they are right. 70 hours out of $70 is really good.
Yeah.
But how many of them 70 hours are actually meaningful?
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Like, from about 2013, maybe even earlier, there's been loads of empty open world games.
Like, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. Horizon Zero Dawn, I think that should have been a linear game, not an open world game.
I haven't played it.
I don't particularly care for it, to be quite honest.
Really? I thought it looked interesting.
It looks very interesting, but I think it's just... I've said this when I reviewed... what's their shooter game thing called? See, that's how generic it is. I can't even remember the name. It's like, they got that... When I reviewed the shooter thing, I said that Guerrilla Games have the ability to take really cool ideas, like space Nazis and robot dinosaurs in a prehistoric apocalyptic world, and make it so boring.
Yeah.
But yeah, not the right subject, but thing is, I prefer a game that's got more meaningful hours. Like, people give slack for Resi 3 being short, but the thing is, I remember every moment of Resi 3.
Yeah, like, there's no unnecessary fat around the edges.
No, there isn't. I don't personally think. Like, you can debate whether the last bit with the little lab can be a bit fat, but the thing is, it doesn't bother me. At least it feels progressive to the story. At least it makes sense.
Yeah.
Debatedly, you could have put. I still think you could have fit the clock tower in somehow. I still think that, but at least Resi 3 felt it was meaningful.
See, I don't mind when games overstay their welcome a little bit. Sometimes it's to be expected, but I do mind when they overstay their welcome with big open areas where you have to find little collectibles and they don't really mean anything. They just say, oh, collect 10 out of 10 whatever peppercorns to put on your steak or something. Yeah.
I had that exact same problem with Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, it's a loads of collectibles in that.
Yeah, it's borderline. It is literally the classic Assassin's Creed, but with more refined gameplay. But the thing is, once I started ignoring the collectibles and just focused on the quests and the main story, I enjoyed the game so much more because it's got a really good combat.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that's the one of the few games I think works as an open world, but I wouldn't mind seeing it as a level-based game. I'm not too sure. Basically, that's my thing. I just hope Resi 8 doesn't go for length over meaningfulness. Because the worst thing for me is when a horror thing overstays its welcome. Cause that's what RE4 did for me. I think once it got past the castle, it's like, why hasn't this ended?
You reckon?
I reckon if they rewrite the story, I don't think they'll do it with the remake or anything like that. But back in the day, like if they rewrite the story, I think they could have got an easily a tighter experience out of it.
Yeah, I see back how when I said the island section of Resi 4 signifies where it starts to where I knew a bit. As I said, and I stand by it, it's still a great game from beginning to end. But at that point where it goes downhill, it's still justified. Like,
it makes sense within the plot. I ain't gonna deny it that.
Yeah, it overstayed its welcome, but not to an offensive extent, like games where you get near the end and you just have to collect a load of things to get 100% or whatever.
No, like I ain't gonna say RE4 is the worst for that. It just I felt like it could if they had written it better, it could have ended at the castle.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying it's like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Oh my god, that game just made me like nope so hard.
I haven't played Odyssey.
I can't really recommend it. Imagine if The Witcher was shit. That's basically Odyssey.
Yeah.
Like, it kept adding new mechanics and new mechanics and new mechanics, and I'm just like, I just want to get through the story.
I hate it when games do that.
That's what I mean. Like, that's what I mean by the meaningfulness. I don't want a game that just adds on stuff just for the sake of, oh, you can do this as well as this, and like, but is that the main focus? Like, not really, but well, you can go in the bin, can't it?
I felt that with Resi 7. I mean, obviously, I don't want to spoil anything for you. You haven't played all of it, but there's a bit, just like in Resi 4, where there's a very obvious disconnect between Act 1 and 2, and then the third one.
Yeah.
Like, well, it's not spoiler saying you go to a different location, I know, but it's very obvious that there's a halt in the story, and then you go to this new location, and the finale, I guess you can say, starts.
Yeah.
It's like the transition between Act 1 and 2, just like in Resident Evil 4, the transition is really smooth, and then it's deathly obvious where they say, okay, now you're moving on to Act 3.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing. RE4, I'll give credit. The switching between Act 1 and 2 was dead smooth, but going to Act 3, you noticed.
Yeah, especially on the GameCube version, like I said, how there's a second disc with just that bit on.
Yeah.
It makes me think that they're going to do the same with Resi 8 if they do evolve after the castle. Because, okay, put it like this. Say, hypothetically, you start in the village.
Yeah.
And then you move into the castle.
Yeah.
I don't think from a story perspective that they would want to go back into the village to see more of what you've already seen.
It would be silly, yeah.
Yeah, so they'd have to do something like Resident Evil 4 and go to a completely different location. The island, for example.
They could have a lab or something like that.
Yeah, but the island had a lab on it in Resi 4, didn't it?
Fair point, actually, yeah.
Yeah, I think, though, the leap in locations is what caused the Act 2 to 3 disconnect.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It felt like I've gone from a horror game to a World War II shooter.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Because even, like, the enemies started having guns, didn't they?
Yeah, they did like miniguns and stuff like that.
And rocket launchers and stuff.
That was in the Act 2 a bit, but I didn't mind it there. But I think it was because they were dressed like they were in military stuff as well.
Oh, in the castle of Resident 4, they had crossbows and stuff, but it was period appropriate to what they were trying to get across.
They also had rocket launchers and a minigun.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, yeah. They did have rocket launchers, didn't they? Wow, I sound real stupid right now. But they have a Gatling gun now. It's very...
I feel like that might have been the Evil Dead moment in it for me.
Yeah.
Whereas it just can't... I think because you did it more than once, it didn't become that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping. That's what I hope. I hope RE8 doesn't overstay its welcome, but it's just right. I know it's hard balance, and I get that, especially with money and stuff like that. But they're not charging $70, £70, whatever, for it. So that'll be cool. The gameplay, I just hope just do more of the puzzle stuff more than anything. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. There will be puzzles. They've shown them in the trailers. But from what we've seen from the gameplay, you know that bit where he's out in the open field and the guy with the hammer comes up?
Yeah.
It looks more Resident Evil 5 than it does anything else.
Yeah, I agree.
Or even the later half of Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, when you got like fighting them two giant monster things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I just hope there's not too much of that, because that's the bits I didn't like.
Thing is, I don't think gameplay wise it would work with loads of puzzles and gameplay and combat like what they've shown us. I think, I mean, it might be to its detriment, I don't know yet, but I think it will be combat over puzzles.
I reckon you're probably right, but I also reckon there are going to be sections that are more combat orientated and then some that are more puzzle orientated.
Yeah. For some reason, I don't know why I feel this, but it feels like the castle is a really good location to have loads of puzzles, and like the village would be a combat zone.
I'm thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I think it's because we've seen the demo how well the puzzles work in that.
Yeah.
And you're trying to think, it's the shanty town, the village is essentially.
Yeah.
Where you're going to fit puzzles like as good as the stuff in the castle there. Just have the combat there instead.
Although I think, saying that, if you do split it into combat in the village, puzzles in the castle, obviously there'll be an overlap, like there will be some puzzles in the village and there will be some combat in the castle.
Yeah.
But I think if they don't do it well enough, then it'll have the Resident Evil 4 problem where you feel like, one half is very much going for one thing and the other half is going for something different. And it might feel like two different games if it's not careful.
Yeah, I do reckon Resident Evil 8 is going to be the most polarising game they've put out in quite some time if they don't balance it right.
You reckon?
I don't think it'll be bad. I'm not expecting it to go down like Cyberpunk or something like that.
Yeah.
But I do reckon it's going to have a bit of a polarising feel to it. Because there's certain Resi fans out there that don't like Resi 7.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised, but there's always people that want to pick the negatives over the positives, isn't there?
There's probably people that are fans of just Resi 4, 5 and 6 that don't like the puzzles, the horror or anything.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that. I mean...
They're weird people, but yeah.
To an extent, I find Resident Evil 4, 5, maybe not 6. Well, in fact, I definitely find 4 and 5 better than 7. I mean, that may just be me, and it feels like an unpopular opinion, but I prefer that sort of gameplay.
What, the third-person shooter thing?
Yeah, maybe not so much 5. If I had to rank them, I'd go 4, 7, 5. I don't mean as a whole series, I mean out of those 3 in particular.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's the top one? Like, Resi 4, I assume.
4 would be the top, then 7, then 5.
Okay.
But that isn't counting the entire series, that's only counting those 3 games.
See, my favourite one is the RE2 remake, because I feel like that is one of the best balance between combat and puzzles.
But again, that borrowed a lot from 4.
Yeah, I'm not denying that. I've always said the 4 was good. It's just, it's not. I don't think it's what I want personally.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they remade 4 and it was basically more similar in style to the RE2 remake, I'll be on that like I'll be like that fly on shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But how do you mean though? Because Resident Evil 2 remake plays so similar to Resident Evil 4 already. I don't see what you'd change.
I think that's the problem. So for some strange reason, I find the story more tolerable in 2.
Yeah.
And I think I like the colour as well, because I don't like the brown of Resi 4.
Yeah, but I think that's more of the era it was made in, where the games were very brown and...
No, that was the start of it, that was.
You reckon?
Yeah. There was lots of colourful games back then, before Resi 4.
Yeah, Dead Space came out shortly after, and that was very drab, and there wasn't many saturated colours in it, were there?
Like, the Resi 1 remake wasn't the most colourfulest of games, but it was far more colourful than Resi 4.
Actually, I think there's a video on YouTube about the era of brown coloured games.
Wouldn't surprise me, there's about how many videos on YouTube?
I think I saw one recommended the other day. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you feel about me talking about other channels, but...
Fine by me, I talked about one earlier.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, this channel, Ink Ribbon, has a video called Remember When Every Game Was Brown.
I'll have to check that out, man.
And on the thumbnail is Dead Space, Resi 4, and Tomb Raider. Remember Tomb Raider, was it Legend?
I think I've vaguely heard. I'm surprised it didn't go with Gears of War, because that was another one that was a contender for it.
Yeah, that was very brown, wasn't it?
But yeah, I think that's one thing. I'll definitely make the RE4 remake colourful. I know we're a bit off, like all over the place with the subject, but it's fun to talk about.
Oh yeah, I mean, if it relates to the main point we're trying to make, then why not?
Yeah.
But I think I would actually argue that at least in the first half of the game.
Are we on about RE8?
RE4, sorry.
Right.
I would argue that at least in the first half of the game, the lack of colour suits it, especially in the village where it's not monochrome, but it's kind of, the browns stand out and it's very unsaturated, and because it's an oppressive environment, it's like one man against 20 villagers, and once you kill them all, they ease off a bit and you move on to the next area, whatever. And then when you move into the castle, a bit more colour does come in, like there's a lot more decor in the castle.
I suppose, yeah.
And then, by the time you got to the island, it's night time, and, well, it's night time for the entire game, but like...
But you could use that for the RE2, RE3 remakes. They were kind of very oppressive, one person versus a horde of zombies, but it still managed to be respectably colourful.
Yeah, but what I mean is, thematically, the lack of colour suits it to a certain degree.
I suppose, yeah. But I think my problem is because it's basically set in Spain, ain't it?
Yeah, I think it is Spain, yeah.
But if you've ever been to Spain, this looks nothing like Spain.
Well, I mean, they have to have been drawing from a certain part of Spain. I've never been to rural Spain, for example.
I've only been to Seville, but still.
Yeah, maybe that's... I mean, they wouldn't have said their game's set in Spain and had a place that obviously wasn't Spain. I mean, there's got to be some parts of Spain that look like that.
Maybe. It reminds me of more like a Romanian sort of thing.
Yeah, like Eastern Europe.
Yeah, that's the vibe I get from it more than Spain.
Well, yeah, but again, is that what media is telling you to believe? Like, you see this rundown place and you think, that must be a certain area of wherever. Or, when I first played it, I didn't even know it was set in Spain. I wouldn't have said. Bear in mind I was a kid, I wasn't as intelligent as I am now. I wouldn't have put it together like, these guys have a Spanish accent. This is Spain.
Yeah.
I didn't question where it was set or anything, but I definitely wouldn't have said Spain. You're right on that.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the multiplayer in any capacity?
You mean reverse?
Yeah.
Reverse, as I call it.
Yeah, reverse the idea of doing it.
There's not much to say, if I'm honest.
Because I've been following a few Capcom YouTubers and stuff like that, like a Sphere Hunter I've mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Every person I've seen talk about it has disliked it.
Really?
Yeah, but I'm kind of in the mindset of, are they trying to dislike it or what?
Yeah, I do find that with some YouTubers, like, they want to go with the most common opinions, don't they?
Like, now I'll give credit, because, like, Sphere Hunter is she'll speak her own mind about something.
Yeah.
It's like, she did a review on Cyberpunk, which was a really good review in my opinion, like, to point out the good and the bad. She let her have it with the bad as well, so they weren't holding back. But, so, yeah. Someone like that saying, if they're willing to excuse Cyberpunk, RE-verse must be bad. And I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of interested in it.
Where? Is it actually out?
No, but there's a beta going on for invite beta thing.
Also, I don't know much about this game, but is it a mobile game? It looks like it's a mobile game.
No, it's been attached to Resi 8. Like, you have to buy Resi 8 to use it. Remember, we talked about this in the past.
Yeah, but what I thought was like, you bought Resi 8 and you got a download code. I don't know, it just made me think of a mobile game.
I get what you mean, considering the fact the art style is a weird choice, considering the fact that, one, it's it's in the RE engine, and two, we already have Resistance come out as a multiplayer game, and that was in the same art style as Resi 3. And even then, we got bloody Monster Hunter Rise coming out, and they ain't cel shaded, and that's on the Switch.
It just made me think that they went cel shaded, maybe to like help it run better on a mobile phone, but now that you're saying it's not, and it's just surprised me. I don't know why.
I got a theory they're going to try and turn it into a Fortnite sort of thing. I don't know if... I think they should have done that outright. They should have just released it outright.
Yeah, it does look like a game that's very one note and very... Like, I would not pay for it. I'm saying it now, I would not pay money for that game on its own.
Because from what I gather, it looks like a third-person hero shooter.
Yeah.
And honestly don't know why it's being attached to Resi 8 when it clearly has nothing to do with it. I think that will literally kill it. I don't know how much of a chance it's got on its own, but I think attaching it to a game already will kill it. I know what you've said in the past, like, oh, it adds more value to Resi 8, but it's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. I can't think of anything to compare it to. Call of Duty, it's like, you know, they got a campaign in Call of Duty. Who plays the campaigns in Call of Duty? It's like, oh, there's a campaign.
Well, yeah, it's like that, but I mean, that's a lesser degree of it.
Yeah.
The campaigns still are the main focus of the games.
Let's be honest, they're not with Call of Duty.
You think?
100%. They make the money off the microtransactions and everything. That's what I reckon they're trying to do. They're going to make a hero shooter, and you can buy loot and people and stuff like that out of loot boxes or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'll be shocked if they didn't do that.
Because in Resi 7, they didn't have, like, remember the game mode Mercenary?
Yeah.
They didn't have that in Resi 7, whereas they had it in 4, 5, and I think 6 as well. Don't quote me on that, but I think they did. Oh yeah, they did actually, yeah.
Yeah.
But my view of it is that they're just trying to make a Mercenary style game. I loved Mercenaries in Resi 4 and 5. I don't think I actually played it in 6, but it was enjoyable. It was something different. I think they're trying to emulate that with RE-verse, because, I mean, let's face it, if you're on the main menu of Resi 8 and a Mercenaries game mode pops up, you're going to be like, this has got nothing to do with the rest of the game. I think that might be what they're trying to do. They're trying to emulate Mercenaries.
But isn't it still using the same gameplay mechanics and stuff like that? Isn't it just basically a horde mode?
No, it's a multiplayer, isn't it?
I don't know, I've never played it.
Sorry, you're talking about Mercenaries or...
Yeah, Mercenaries.
Oh yeah, sorry. Mercenaries is like horde mode, yes. You're right in saying that, yeah.
So, but it still uses the same mechanics from the main games and the same enemies, don't it?
Yeah, it does.
Whereas RE-verse doesn't even do that.
Yeah, which is why they wouldn't... Well, I don't think they would put it as like an add-on in the main menu of the game like they did with RE4 or RE5.
What they did with Resi 3 and its multiplayer, when you put the disc in, you got two options to download. Something you got the campaign, I think is on the disc, I don't know, and you got the multiplayer mode.
Yeah.
So I reckon they'll do the same there. They'll put two different downloads.
I still don't see it as like... It's hard to explain. I don't see it as something you'd load up on like your PS5 or your computer. It does still look like a mobile game to me. Like, it looks more like an app than a...
It does. It looks like... it does look like a mobile game.
Yeah.
So I think... Because it's mainly mobile games that sort of do stuff like that. It's, again, it looks like Fortnite.
Yeah.
You know, that's some mobiles and stuff like that. That's a big... That feels like a mobile game on a console, don't it?
I get what you're going at, yeah.
Like, I'm not knocking Fortnite players, but I tried it once, right, when the Star Wars stuff was happening. Not even played the first match and it tried to make me buy stuff.
Really?
Yeah. It was just showing all these menus, like, didn't explain a single thing. It just showed up on a menu saying, if you'd like, you can buy this battle pass and get the skins early.
Yeah.
What do I do with it? Why do I need this? I haven't even played a match yet.
At the very least, at least that was free and it was trying to get money from microtransactions, whereas RE-verse is going to be paid for and it will still most likely have transactions.
Yeah, that's why I think it should have been a free-to-play game in its own right, just something separate. Because I think the fact that it's attached to Resi 8 will probably kill it.
I don't see what you mean by that. How can it be detrimental that it's attached to a bigger game? I don't understand.
Because you'll overshadow it.
Oh yeah, it'll overshadow it, but by buying Resi 8, you still.
But what about if you're not a fan of that style? What about if you're not a fan of that Resi game style? You could just be into the Resi 4, the third person shooting, and they're like, I don't like the first person one. Oh, they're making another one. I ain't gonna buy that. And you're like, but they got the third person shooting multiplayer.
The thing is, alright.
I know it's a bit of a obscure thing, but still.
No, I know, but the thing is, they've attached it to Resi 8, which means if you buy Resi 8, you own RE-verse. And I don't know if this is how they're doing it, but won't that class as a sale for RE-verse?
In what sense do you mean?
Like, won't that count towards the sales of RE-verse as well as RE8?
Well, I suppose so, yeah, but I think the reason I'm saying it is because I'm looking at it as a mobile sort of game. I'm looking at how these kind of multiplayer games work these days. Like, I'm comparing it to Fortnite.
Yeah.
Because, like, it buried PUBG, didn't it? PUBG's still around, but you got to pay for it, didn't you, back in the day? I don't know if you still do, but who talks about PUBG anymore?
Yeah, you don't really hear about it anymore. Well, I don't, at least.
Rocket League's gone free to play, stuff like that.
That's so annoying. I bought Rocket League for a tenner about a week before it went free to play.
Even Call of Duty had got a free game out.
Yeah, Warzone.
And I think Warzone basically overshadowed Call of Duty Black Ops, Cold War, whatever the bloody hell it's called.
Well, the game that came out at the same time was Modern Warfare, wasn't it?
Modern Warfare came out first, but I think that had the nostalgia thing to go for it.
Oh no, I mean the remake of Modern Warfare. Well, I don't think it was a remake, I'm not sure.
You mean COD 4 or the reboot one?
No, I'm on about the reboot one.
Yeah, it's a reboot.
Oh, so it's the same game?
I don't know if it's the same game, but I know it's basically a reboot of the Modern Warfare series.
Right. But that one, the reboot, came out at the same time as Warzone, didn't it?
No, Warfare came out fair bit first, but
Right.
Warzone came out, I think, like April last year. It was just when everyone was getting cozy into lockdown, the first lockdown.
Was it that recent, really?
Yeah,
Wow, okay.
and then they announced like the new Black Ops, but I don't think many people cared for it. That's the problem with Call of Duty. Why would you pay for? Well, why would you pay for it when there's a free version?
I can't really speak about the popularity of the newer Call of Duty because, being honest, I don't exactly know.
I don't play Call of Duty. I don't play it at all. But I'm just that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm just looking at all the free multiplayer games going out there.
Yeah. What I do know is that common sense dictates that if you can get something for free, or you can get a paid alternative of essentially the same thing, you're gonna go for the free thing, aren't you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's common sense.
Like, I tried Stadia for free. Wouldn't touch it. I think there's a free membership thing, but I think you had to buy a game or something like that. Like, I ain't doing all of that. I only tried it because the free demo of that Gods whatever, Immortals, Gods Among Us, what? That's Injustice. Whatever that Ubisoft crap thing was.
Phoenix Rising, was it called?
That's it, something like that. And that's the only reason I tried it.
Yeah.
There were two things I was remotely interested in trying, so I just tried them for free, and I never looked back because I never tried it again.
I know it's going off topic, but how is Phoenix Rising?
Well, Stadia ran so terribly I couldn't tell you. Which I've done a video if viewers want to see. Plug.
I have seen that advertised. I might check it out.
I did the Switch Cloud version of Control as well, which is ridiculously better than what Stadia did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we're going a bit really off subject now, but I think that's basically it for what we want to discuss with the Resident Evil 8 and its multiplayer, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Any last thoughts?
Don't do a Cyberpunk for God's sake.
Well, this one hasn't been 7 years in production, so.
No, apparently it's only been in for 4.
So what? This RE8 or Cyberpunk?
Cyberpunk.
Oh yeah, you did mention that, didn't you?
It got rebooted in it, but yeah, don't pull the Cyberpunk. Have some fun with itself, get the lads round and make sure it has a lot of fun, all that jazz. That's all I can think of, yeah. Just don't suck. Simple as.
Well, it's already made now, isn't it? We just gotta hope it doesn't suck. We can't say don't suck. It won't change now, Brian.
I imagine this is what parents are like with the child, and it turns out to be like a furry or something like that in the end.
Yeah. Oh God, imagine.
Alright, thank you very much, Lewis. Just so you could plug yourself, what's your business and that, just so everyone knows.
Right, so I'm based in Dudley in the West Midlands. I'm a videographer and photographer. I go by the name of Sad Mango. You can check out my page. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah, check me out on Instagram, Sad Mango. I do videography, photography, and more recently, I'm getting into 3D modelling.
I've seen some of the stuff, they're pretty cool to be fair.
Okay.
I also want to say as well, Lewis here is working on some work for the channel as well, artistic work, so hopefully soon you'll be able to see that. I'll also put his link to his details and stuff in the, what the bloody hell they're called? Description, that's it.
Yeah, I don't know how much you want to talk about the project, but yeah, it'll be soon. Hopefully I'll show Ryan what I got soon, and hopefully we'll go ahead with it.
Yep, hopes up. Right, thank you for listening. If you guys are interested in more content, like, subscribe and hit that stupid ass bell. Goodbye.
Bye.